President Trump is rejecting criticism that he's not doing enough to meet the coronavirus threat. Instead, he accused news outlets today of inciting panic, and he called a news conference to outline the administration's efforts. Meanwhile, Senate Democrats pushed for an $8.5 billion emergency funding measure, more than 3 times what the president proposed. Lawmakers from both parties agreed on the need for action.
Well, I think we need to appropriate some additional resources for certain. I think this is a serious enough issue the president should be addressing the country and reassuring the American people what efforts are underway at the CDC and within his administration to protect the American people.
Our nation has more resources than any other nation in the world to be able to address whatever threat coronavirus poses, but it's going to require bipartisan action. This is not a time for partisanship. Pathogens do not respect party lines.
Around the world today, for the first time, more new coronavirus cases were reported outside of China than inside. One was a U.S. soldier in South Korea. That is the first case among some 28,000 Americans stationed there. Brazil also reported its first confirmed case, making it the first case in Latin America. In Italy, infections continue to rise, leading soldiers to blockade some hard-hit northern towns. But in China, the outbreak continues to slow, and some restrictions are easing. We'll take a closer look at the situations in China and here at home later in the program. A shooter attacked workers at the Molson Coors Brewing Company in Milwaukee today. The mayor said multiple people were killed, but there were no other details. Now, police and emergency crews swarmed to the site where at least 600 people are employed. Some texted that they had taken shelter in locked rooms. A federal appeals court in New York has ruled the Trump administration can legally withhold federal funding from states over immigration enforcement. A lower court had said federal grants may not be kept from so-called sanctuary cities and states that refuse to cooperate with immigration authorities. 3 other appeals courts have issued conflicting rulings. The Prime Minister of India appealed for calm in New Delhi today after the city's worst sectarian violence in decades. The death toll climbed to at least 24, with nearly 200 hurt in the last 3 days as Hindu mobs have attacked Muslim homes, businesses, and mosques. More of the injured arrived at hospitals today, and armed police patrolled the streets amid charred vehicles and burned stores.
The riots and arsons started in the morning, and the cars that were parked here were set on fire, so people weren't coming out of their houses due to fear. People living in the streets were so scared that they didn't even sleep, and most of the people aren't stepping out of their homes.
The violence erupted during President Trump's visit to India this week and grew out of protests over a new law granting citizenship for refugees of every major South Asian religion except Muslims. In Egypt, a military funeral with full honors was held today for former President Hosni Mubarak as the country began 3 days of official mourning. Mubarak's coffin, carried on a horse-drawn carriage, made its way as part of a procession through the streets of Cairo. Mubarak died yesterday at 91 from heart and kidney problems. Back in this country, President Trump's re-election campaign is suing the New York Times over libel over an opinion column it published last year. The piece, written by a former Times executive editor, alleged Russia helped the Trump campaign in 2016 in exchange for foreign policies that would benefit Russia. In its filing, the campaign said that the Times intentionally printed false information. The Times rejected the allegation. And on Wall Street today, stocks tried in vain to rally after 2 major sell-offs. The Dow Jones Industrial Average ended up losing another 123 points to close at 26,957. The Nasdaq eked out a gain of 15 points, but the S&P 500 slipped 11 points. And best-selling adventure novelist Clive Cussler has died. He passed away Monday at his home in Scottsdale, Arizona. Cussler wrote more than 80 books, including Night Probe, Cyclops, and Raise the Titanic. Many of his novels featured the intrepid explorer Dirk Pitt. Clive Cussler was 88 years old. Still to come on the NewsHour, how to fight a global outbreak. The U.S. and China try to contain the spread of COVID-19. Key takeaways from last night's Democratic debate as voters across the country prepare for Super Tuesday. A chronic condition and chronically undertreated, an inside look at migraine disease, plus much more.
This is the PBS NewsHour. from WETA Studios in Washington, and in the West from the Walter Cronkite School of Journalism at Arizona State University.